Pittsburgh Steelers final score 37-15 as the green and white move to 2-5. The Pittsburgh Steelers conversely 5-2. Welcome to Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. Quincy Enunwa, Eric Allen, Ethan Greenberg, EA. Another tough loss for the green and white in primetime lights.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. The Jets had control of this game late in the second quarter, a 15-6 lead, and then Beanie Bishop, a rookie undrafted free agent, intercepts future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and the game flipped on a dime. The Steelers scored the final 31 points in this game. So despite the Jets coming out on fire and really having control of that game, that's the key moment in this one. Second quarter, you're looking to build on a 9-point lead. The rookie cornerback makes an interception. Before you know it, Russell Wilson's in the end zone, converting on a touchdown pass to George Pickens. And then from there, it was all downhill for the Steelers.
Yeah, and I will say, Quincy, I'm curious your perspective. It seemed like the Beanie Bishop play, he had 2 interceptions. The first one was what seemed like just an incredible play where it was a one-handed interception, and to EA's point, the Steelers score off that. Then he capitalizes, he meaning Bishop capitalizes on a tip pass where a beautiful throw to Garrett Wilson hits Wilson in the chest. It pops up in the air. Bishop corrals it. The Steelers score again. So right there, that's 14 points that the Jets kind of, you would imagine, gave the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the first pick right there. It seemed to be a great play, but to EA's point, you have a minute 15 left. The Jets are up 15-6. Offense momentum rolling. And then you really felt like, Quincy, that the Jets were going to put points on the board, whether it was a touchdown or a field goal. From your perspective, what did you see on that play, the first interception? The second one was just, lucky timing and a good play by the rookie undrafted free agent.
Yeah, I mean, on the first play, it was definitely a too high safety look. It was the place that you want to go a lot of time, but you got to look, and Aaron Rodgers spoke about it himself, but I think if you're thinking about it from a receiver or even a young quarterback perspective, once you see those linebackers kind of get too much depth, you got to drop it underneath, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers sometimes has overconfidence in his abilities, right? And so he made that pass, and the rookie made a great play. He was facing one way, made it seem as though he wasn't going to be able to flip his hips, put that one arm back and catch that ball. Ultimately, it was a great play by the rookie. He had a great game today. But I think going forward, Aaron Rodgers has to know, with that time on the clock, knowing that you guys are trying to score there or at least keep the ball in your hands to end the half, just drop it down underneath. We saw what Breece Hall did when he gets the ball underneath. It's a great opportunity for him to just make some more plays for your offense. Then the second one, man, it's a tough one, man. I think with Garrett Wilson, it's just a lesson for him, right? Just to get your hands out there. Even if his hands were out, it might not have bounced up. A lot of times, once that ball hits your chest pad, it just goes funky. Once it hits your hands, you have an opportunity, if you have soft enough hands, where it can still kind of fall into your body. So just 2 really unfortunate plays. And I think what hurts the most, especially for a young guy like Garrett Wilson, is they were both to him. So it makes it feel even worse, dang, I'm the one that let the team down. I didn't help my team out, right? And, this is a team effort. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you look at some of these stats today, they had 8 times they were in third down, and it was 4+ yards to go, right? So, it's just not good. You can't win games like that. You have to win on first and second down. I talked about that in the pre-show, and they just didn't figure it out. So now you're going for these long third downs, and you can't get anything done.
Here's what I'm most concerned about right now from a Jets perspective, is that Jeff Albrecht, the interim head coach, said, I didn't like the way my guys responded to adversity today. And then you had quarterback Aaron Rodgers saying after the game, we felt flat in pregame warm-ups, and we felt flat after I threw that first interception. Those things just can't happen for the Jets right now. They have lost 4 consecutive games.
Yeah, I think that from a Jets perspective, if you're a fan, you're concerned that time is the enemy of this team right now, considering you're 2-5. But you think about, if you've been on Twitter post-game, the mood in the post-game locker room seems to be from guys like Garrett Wilson. By the way, he took accountability right for the play that you mentioned, Quincy, where the ball passes or hits off his chest pad. He said, the way I see it, we'd win the game if I didn't drop the ball, if I did what I was brought here to do, what I expect myself to do. We win the game. We were going to do it, and I let the guys down today. So that's Garrett Wilson in terms of accountability. Aaron Rodgers talked about everyone looking in the mirror. Rodgers said that he didn't play well enough today. Davante Adams said similar things, and what Davante Adams said post-game, and we'll hear from him in a little bit, was that what frustrates him even more is that he's in the huddle for the first time as a Jet today. He's like, oh my God, this is a talented group here with guys like Garrett, with Breece, and that's the most frustrating part because the Jets do have a talented team on paper, Quincy, but how do they make this a team is the real question.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect question, right? How did they make it a team? Because right now they just don't have much of an identity. Every week we're seeing something new from the offense, and it's something I keep saying, right? Like, I think there's so many nice glimpses, and I think I saw somebody speak about that. Like, there's an opportunity for them to be really good because of these glimpses, but ultimately, like, we're tired. I think as an offense, as a team, everybody is tired of glimpses, right? We want to see results, right? And I think I'm probably speaking for the team. They want to see those results, and they're not seeing them right now, And in the run game, that's one thing they're really struggling in. I think last week was great, but that was a bad rushing defense. This was a team that you really wanted to kind of put those points up, and they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, I'm curious from like a defensive perspective, EA, what you saw, because 37 points is not something that you see the Jets defense give up every game. I mean, you really feel like this game was the anomaly, but 400 total yards allowed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, granted, 7 points came at the end of the game, and Pittsburgh was already had the game in the bag already. So it's 30 points if you want to look at it from that perspective. But Russell Wilson and George Pickens, they definitely seem like they got lucky at times. I mean, you think about Pat Freiermuth connecting on a one-handed grab that Jalen Mills had his hand in the chest of Freiermuth and just couldn't break up the pass.
Yeah.
My thing is everybody's talented in the National Football League.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this every week, so we can't just keep on talking about how talented the Jets are. The close of this game for me was reminiscent to Week 1 against the 49ers. The Steelers scored on their final 5 possessions. 4 of those were touchdowns. I thought the defense got off to a good start, but I think what Quincy's been talking about, what you've been talking about, Greens, as well, the Jets are just not playing solid complementary football, where if you make a mistake on one side of the ball, you have to pick each other up, and we're not seeing that right now. Even after those 2 interceptions and the Steelers take the lead, I believe it was 23-15, and then special teams goes down there. Zerline is attempting a field goal, and that's blocked. Yeah. And the Steelers take the ball after that and go right down the field again and make it a 15-point game.
Yeah, and the Jets earlier in that game, think about Minkah Fitzpatrick blocked, or he had the block that got called back because of a penalty, because of leverage, and there's just a lot that I feel like we could point to and say, like, this is what happened wrong with the Jets. But obviously, this is the National Football League. Everything's under the microscope under a post-game loss. But I mentioned Davante Adams earlier, Quincy. From your perspective, what did you see from him in his Jets debut? He finished with 9 targets, 3 catches for 30 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Davante Adams, right? I saw him being himself. I saw a couple of different plays that I really was excited about. You saw his wiggle. You saw his route running ability, right? You saw there was even one play that we won't be able to highlight, but he was running down the sideline, putting his arm up, and was taking 2 defenders away so that Garrett Wilson could catch the over across the middle. So, like, those are the things that you look for. Those are the things that you expect from Davante Adams. And I think as they go along, it'll be good and exciting to see what they're capable of, because I think he only didn't play in like 2 snaps.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty impressive, and I think the sky is the limit, right? That's the cliche right there. But I think they can really do some exciting things.
Yeah, well, real quick, before we continue on this, let's actually catch up with Bob Wischusen, who caught up with Davante Adams after the game.
Davante, frustration, I'm sure, tonight to be in position to score points in the second half. Where do you think, when you go back and watch this tape, that the offense probably fell short when you were in position to score points?
We just didn't finish. Didn't finish enough, and that's kind of been the underlying deal with this football team this year. And you just got to be able to finish drives better and with 7, and we did that early a couple times and had an opportunity to potentially do something special, but just fell short on too many opportunities.
How comfortable did you feel back with Aaron, and how much more comfortable are you expecting to feel as the week goes on after kind of arriving here and crash course on the offense and getting back with him?
Yeah, I mean, as far as picking up on the offense and everything, I felt great there. It was, obviously we can continue to work on that and get back where where we've been, and that's just a work in progress, and it's not something that I'm too worried about. It's just more just the attitude of the team and how we have to move forward if we plan on winning games.
And last question, as a guy that's been through everything in this league, for some of the young guys on this team, a veteran like yourself and Aaron, where do you think it comes from, and the role you play in keeping their confidence up, that there's still a lot of football out in front of you and that the season's not over?
Right. Yes. It's at this point, it's just about changing the mindset and changing the culture. So doing everything that I can to influence these guys, offense, defense, special teams, everything, and give them a little bit of what's in me as to why we've been able to defeat some of the odds in the past. And I don't want to talk about the past all the time, but it's when it's been done and you've done it yourself, that it's attainable. So we just got to do what we got to do, and people like me, Aaron, and the rest of the vets on the team got to do our job and bring everybody else along.
Thanks for the help and the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's Davante Adams, guys. Back to you.
Jets are on the road next week, but the week after that, they're back at MetLife, and you can secure your seats for a Halloween showdown at MetLife Stadium on Thursday, October 31st, when the Green and White host C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, presented by Moody's. A limited number of single-game tickets are available at nyjets.com/tickets. The Jets' leading receiver tonight in Pittsburgh wasn't actually a wide receiver. It was running back Breece Hall, EA. 6 catches, 103 yards, including a long 57-yard scamper. Felt like Breece Hall, the past 2 weeks, really, we've seen what we saw in 2023 after somewhat of a slow start to 2024.
He had 141 yards from scrimmage, and he's such a threat out of the backfield as an outlet, and he was finishing runs. He set up that score by Tyler Conklin there in the first half. And there's the first touchdown of the game when he explodes to the pylon. So it was nice for him to get back into the end zone tonight against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd like to see more of that, like Quincy's talking about. I'd like to see more of Breece out of the backfield when so much attention is going to the receivers. That's a lot of space right there, and that guy can finish runs.
Absolutely. And he's a glider, so it's so cool to kind of watch him because it looks like he's moving at a different speed than everybody else, right? Sometimes it doesn't even look like he's going very fast, but he's just passing everybody by. He's just a talented back.
For more on Breece Hall's performance, let's catch up with Caroline Hendershot, who caught up with number 20 after the game.
Here with running back Breece Hall. Breece, the offense seemed to get going in that first half. What, from your perspective, happened where it couldn't really pick itself up off the ground in the second half?
Killing ourselves, and I just feel like just not taking our layups. I feel like we were kind of making it hard for ourselves, so that's very frustrating. But, we were still able to move the ball up and down the field. We just got to score points, and it sucks when we get to the red zone and we aren't able to convert how we need to. So we just got to be better there.
What's the next step this team can take as you look ahead at the rest of the schedule? Because there's still plenty of game left, still plenty of the season left. But what's that next step that this team needs to take?
For everybody to look themselves in the mirror, and our playmakers need to make plays when plays need to be made. So at the end of the day, there's no excuses. We just have to be better and win. There's no more time for making excuses. It's too late for that. So we just got to be better. We got to win games.
How do you personally flush these kinds of games out of the system? Because you have another big game with an AFC East rival on deck.
Yeah, I don't personally flush anything. I want to win all the time. So, our loss from week 1 still sits with me. So, I just keep that chip on my shoulder and, knowing that nobody wants to see us win. And, when we do win, that's what the purpose is. We got to win for each other and not just win for ourselves.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Breece.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff from Breece Hall and Caroline Hendershot, as always. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Quincy, we talked about Breece Hall, but let's actually dive into the film. Our film was presented by Microsoft. What did you see from Breece Hall tonight that really I think fans should pay attention to?
Yeah, so, this is Breece Hall right here, and this is why he is the number 2 all-purpose back in the league, probably number 1 this year if he keeps going at this rate. Look at this nice chip block here, right off the edge, getting T.J. Watt on his butt, and now you got to reward your guy for helping you out here. It's a great play. All go special. Bring him out of the backfield, and I love that they're mixing it up on offense. Then on this play here, this is another reason why he's just so good. an outlet for your guy, and watch him make all these guys miss. All these guys around him can't make the tackle. 9 guys had an opportunity to tackle Breece Hall, and he's just out of there because he is that guy on this team, and hopefully they can continue to find ways to get him the ball.
You know, I think that it's a big case of deja vu, EA, with that Breece Hall play when you think about him getting tackled at the 3-yard line, just like last week. He had the big run, gets tackled inside the 5. Jets don't convert in the red zone, but they do on that sequence where it ended up being a Tyler Conklin touchdown.
I think you probably should have scored on that play against the Buffalo Bills tonight. I had no problem on that one. Quincy just did a great job with the film review. When you're talking about 9 would-be tacklers and you not going down and setting your team up inside 1st and goal, outstanding play. And the Jets finished that drive on a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers to Tyler Conklin. And that was followed by a 2-point conversion. Credit Jeff Ulbrich after Minka Fitzpatrick got flagged for leverage on the extra point. Brick said, stand in the field, we're going to go for 2 here, and then Rodgers hit Garrett Wilson. At that point, at 15-6, feeling like the Jets got decent control here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, there's so many different things that we could talk about, but I think if we're staying with Breece Hall, right, one of the stats that I was looking at during this game was, on first down, they had about 12 rushes, and it was 4 yards per rush, but then on second down, they could only get 1 yard per rush in their 4 rushes, right? So that's something that's really lacking, right? What can they kind of fix to make sure that Breece Hall can get going? It was great that he was getting going in the passing game. That's what we like to see because in 2023, he was really excellent at that. Now we got to get him going on second down as well.
And the Jets were much better in the red zone, converting on 2 of their 3 trips at 67%. But Jets fans, you got to enter for your chance to win the ultimate Halloween treat, including 2 Coaches Club tickets to the Texans-Jets game at MetLife Stadium on October 31st, presented by Moody's, a Legacy black jersey, and a football signed by Quincy Williams at stake here. Text Halloween to 26154 to enter now. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Again, final score in Pittsburgh in Week 7, Jets 15, Steelers 37. And we're going to move into our report cards here on Jets Overtime, starting with the offense and starting with Quincy Enunwa.
Yeah, so on offense, I gave these guys a C- again. Again, I'm enjoying kind of what they're doing in terms of making things a little bit different and, some motions, putting guys in different spots. Like that play with Breece Hall where he caught the ball at the backfield, not the chip, but the other one was great because it was all-go special. The last week, that was a play where Breece caught the ball up the seam, and then they also ran that play again in that same game, and they threw it to Braylon out the seam. So just a great job of switching things up, giving you the same look, but having guys run different plays. So I like the creativity, but then the 2 picks drop your grade down, absolutely. So that's my thing there. And then not scoring, right? You get 15 points and can't score.
C- as well. Listen, the run game, it's got to get going for the Jets tonight. 15 attempts for 54 yards. You had the 2 turnovers, obviously going to get punished for that. On the positive side of the ledger, Breece Hall, so effective as a receiver tonight, as an outlet. And then also the Jets were better in the red zone greens, 2 of 3 overall. And Aaron Rodgers did have success passing the football, but 15 points is not going to get it done. So it's C-.
Aaron Rodgers tonight completed 24 of his 39 pass attempts, 61.5% completion rate, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions like we documented for a passer rating of 70.0. On the other side, Russell Wilson completed 55.2% of his passes for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns for a rating of 109.0. Najee Harris went for over 100 on the ground. With all that being said, let's move to the defensive grades here. Quincy, where are you going with that?
Yeah, so I went a C- there. I think the thing for me was, at first I was like, ooh, I want to drop into D level there. But honestly, they made a lot of great plays. At least 100 of those yards that they had, of those 264 passing they had, were really contested plays. So the defense was playing well there. They just made the plays that they needed to make, and that's a tough position to put your defense in. The Jets were not able to do it on the opposite side. So I gave them a C-. There's a lot of yards given up, 400-plus yards. That's not quality football. That's not this Jets defense. The past 2 weeks they have not been playing the way that they are supposed to be playing. The identity is not there. They've got to figure that out. So C-.
C- for me as well, Q. I mean, this defense was operating with major deficiencies in the secondary today in terms of injuries. DJ Reed down, Michael Carter down, Chuck Clark down, Brandon Eccles starts, Isaiah Oliver, he starts, and then Jalen Mills, a practice squad call-up, he starts for you. Well, what happens during this game is that Tony Adams goes down, so that means that Ashton Davis comes in, okay, at the safety position. Then Ashton Davis goes down with a head injury, so Oliver has to move over to the safety position, and then Sheffield has to come over. At some point, and play corner, of course, at some point, when you're talking about that number of injuries, it's really going to impact you. I thought the defense over time wore down. To start this game, they were all over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson could not find water if he was out there in a boat. But he got it going. He got the long moon ball to George Pickens, and they connected, and they had more than 400 yards of total offense. I do think the Jets, they got to get better against the run. We talk about that every week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Jalen Mills, you mentioned him, second on the team in tackles with 8. He also
was
had
all
a
over
tackle
the
for
place.
loss. He had a pass defense. He played very well, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mills. But for more on the defense's performance, let's hear from Caroline Hendershot, who caught up with C.J. Mosley.
Here was C.J. Mosley. C.J., what was Coach Ulbricht's message to the team after the game?
Point the finger at yourself. Find a way. No complaining. It's about to get really loud outside, so we need to lock arms and really just figure this thing out.
What were some of the changes that the Steelers made at half?
Nothing. They executed when they needed to. They made the plays when they needed to, and they got the ball when they needed to. So, we just, as a defense, 37 points is inexcusable. We've been talking about the past couple of years, how we put this organization on our shoulders. It doesn't matter what the offense does. We get the ball back. We make the plays, and we haven't been doing that if we've just been pretty honest. So, as a defense and as a team, we got to lock back in, which we say every single week, but we just got to freaking do it.
As a captain and a leader of this defense, how are you going to kind of help this defense regroup before next week?
We went into this week, with the right mindset. We started the game on fire, but just like little things that's just hurting us. Some of the 50-50 balls, you just give credit where it's due, but when it's time for us to make our play or got to execute at certain times, we just got to do it. We had some crazy injuries this game, so we had guys come in, but at the end of the day, we all put in the work. We all are capable of being a great defense and a great team, but it's something that's holding us back, man. We got to figure it out.
Appreciate the time, CJ.
Yep, thank you.
The New York Jets Fan Hall of Fame, presented by Ticketmaster, is back celebrating the most passionate diehard fans in the game. Submit your nomination today and tell us why you or someone you know bleeds green. Enter now at nyjets.com/Fan Hall of Fame for your chance to be immortalized alongside the best fans in the world. Jets Fan Hall of Fame, where real fans live forever. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. You just heard from C.J. Mosley, Quincy Enunwa, Eric Allen, Ethan Greenberg. The Jets defense allowed 409 total yards to the Pittsburgh Steelers in a 37-15 loss, as the Green and White are 2-5 and will play the New England Patriots next week. Before we get to our final thoughts here, just wrapping up our report cards. So far, we got C-minuses from both of you for the offense and the defense. Now it's time for the special teams. Are we going for the trifecta here in C-minuses?
Absolutely going for the trifecta here. It's never good when you can't trust your kicker. It's never good when you go out and you have to go for it on fourth down. That makes it very, very challenging. But I don't want to put this all on the kicker when I'm talking about special teams, because the returners are also making some questionable decisions, taking it out of the end zone and then only getting to the 20-yard line, right? So it's not just the kicker. It's also the guys up front not blocking, right, allowing the pressure to get on the kicker. So there's so many different things in the operation that are just not going well. So as a unit, they get C-, not just the kicker.
I say C- as well. Xavier Gibson had some difficulty fielding the punter's kicks tonight. Yeah. That lefty spin is a little bit different. So I thought they got away with a couple there because you want to field those punts cleanly. And then also at 23-15, it's an 8-point game in the third quarter. You got to get points on the board. And unfortunately, that field goal is blocked from a Greg Zuerlein. And also, the extra point attempt, I thought the Jets might have caught a break there. By the letter of the law, Minka Fitzpatrick, he just seemed like he just slapping his helmet. So if that doesn't happen, then you don't even get the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I think the letter of the law says that you can't use the opposing team's players to like propel yourself up.
Yeah.
It looked like, and I think Terry McAuley said this, just kind of looked like he was placing his hands there to make sure that he was getting over, not that he was pushing them down. But whatever, flag's a flag. The Jets lost this game 37-15. And as we wrap up here on Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM, I think the question becomes, if you're a Jets fan, EA, it's like, where do the Jets go from here? And like I said earlier, there's still everything the Jets want is in front of them. But Aaron Rodgers said it best, like you gotta start rifling off some wins here quickly.
Are you saying literally or figuratively where they go from here? Because they're going to New England next Sunday, and they better beat the Patriots. The Patriots are 1-6. I think they played in London today. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is a team in total rebuild mode. Right now, the New York Jets have lost 4 consecutive games. I never thought we'd be sitting here after 7 weeks, and they were 2-5. But that's just where they're at. And looking at it from a big picture, as far as the run is concerned, for the Jets to get back in the mix here, they go 7-3 down the stretch over these final 10 games. That means they'll be 9-8. If they go 8-2, that means they'll be 10-7. Mm-hmm. They got to start winning games. Yeah. I mean, now. And after New England, you can look ahead and say, okay, well, Sunday, let's put that one in the bag. Then you got the Houston Texans coming here. They lost today. I believe they're 5-2, but they're one of the AFC's top teams. That's going to be a tough game on a short week.
Yeah, I mean, this division is, outside of Buffalo playing really good football, it's really bad, right? Like, let's just be honest, right? Yeah. This is probably the worst the division has been in a long time. The Patriots are not playing well. The Dolphins can't figure out who their quarterback is. The Jets have every opportunity to kind of get out there, win some of these games. They just have to figure out what their identity is. On offense, they have not figured that out yet. They're still trying to find what do they look like, what do they like to do the most. And right now, I think they're heavily dependent on Aaron Rodgers, and that's not going to win you games. As much as we want to depend on Aaron Rodgers, I think it should be team focused, run focused, right? You have these great backs. We didn't even get this chance to see Braylon Allen today. Like, you have 2 great backs in the backfield. Force the ball to them as much as possible, right? And then allow Aaron Rodgers to help you when needed. I think that's going to be the focus, getting out fast. It's been kind of the theme for this Jets team for a little while now, not getting out fast, and it's showing, right? On first and second down, you're not running the ball well. That's right there. That's the reason why you're not getting out fast. So now on third down, you're stuck in these bad positions. On defense, these guys are not getting off the field, and they're allowing guys to make plays. They can't get turnovers. That's the situation on defense. They're not getting any turnovers. So just on both of those sides, just there alone, if they can fix those things, they can really turn it around.
You got to play 60 minutes. Son Reddick's entering the building tomorrow, so maybe that gives you a jolt on the defensive side of the ball, one of the NFL's top pass rushers. But you got to take baby steps, and those steps begin in New England. Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. You mentioned New England Patriots are the next opponent on the Jets slate. Well, let's actually take a look at who the Jets have upcoming outside of New England. You talk about the Houston Texans on a short week, then the Jets go out to Arizona. But then after that, you're talking about a lot of East Coast games and a lot of them at home. The Indianapolis Colts here at MetLife, the Seattle Seahawks, the Rams, the Dolphins. So a lot of short trips coming after November 10th. But the Jets have to make sure that they do, in fact, start ripping off some wins here starting next week at the New England Patriots for a 1 o'clock kick in New England. That's all the time we have here on Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Final score in Pittsburgh, Jets 15, Steelers 37. For all your Jets coverage, stay sure, locked in to NewYorkJets.com.